I'm Jen Burson, founder and president of Generation PR and creator of the Powerhouse Pros community. I just want to welcome you to this topic where we're going to talk about RFPs. And I promise you will hear something new today that you have never considered. We're talking about RFPs today, and we've talked about them in Agency Accelerator quite a bit. My goal for us is always make more money, not work as hard, not waste our time, not spin our wheels. And so RFPs, if you don't know, is a formal document that a company will send out to solicit specific information from companies they want to work with. Like, in our case, a PR agency, digital marketing agency, it could be an experiential marketing agency. And they could come at you from contacts or it could be something that somebody in your community has shared with you or they just find you online, or it's somebody you have a contact with. So we're going to talk about what is an RFP and what you're going to find in one, at least so you can look and see, what information you'll find in them so you can look and see even if it's a good RFP. We're going to talk about 3 major red flags to look out for when you receive an RFP, and the big one, which is strategy. Why you should never give away strategy, what to kind of look for getting RFP. You might have received it from one of your contacts at a company in your niche, like they know you. Maybe it's a client that's moved on to another company and they're trying to bring someone new in and they're doing a process. Or it could be a cold RFP from a brand that you've heard of or you haven't heard of. And, you kind of think like, let's look at this and see what it's all about. No matter how this RFP comes your way, you have to carefully consider whether or not you're going to respond to it and try to kind of throw your hat in the ring to secure the client, because responding to them properly can be really time consuming, and you want to have a process for considering whether that time and effort are worth it to land that potential client. So we're going to dig into all things RFPs, what they are, how to know if it's the right one for you to actually go through the effort and do it, what red flags to look out for when a new RFP hits your inbox. So just in general, what it's going to include from a good company that actually, I've seen some that are like so vague and you're going, what even is this? But usually they are looking for they'll use an RFP to solicit information from agencies that they're possibly interested in working with, or just to kind of vet a bunch at once and have similar criteria to apples for apples compare. They'll usually include company info, goals and expectations, probably have some kind of an NDA. They should have a list of deliverables or a scope of work. They should have some kind of a response framework, like how they're expecting your responses to be positioned, and it should have budget details. And the company should give as much information as possible so you can craft a proposal that actually answers their needs. That doesn't mean that you should give away a ton of information in your response. We're going to get to that later, but you want to be able to communicate your ability to solve their problems, serve their needs, share your unique value proposition, and what you can provide for the budget or the budget range that they've shared. So that's the basic, right? If a company is considering multiple agencies or they want to run a process that's fair, then RFPs can help them make their final decision. And companies will turn to this process to gauge how well each PR agency understands their needs and can execute a project or can execute a campaign. They'll help us as PR pros get clarity around a prospective client's goals early in the process and ensure that you understand, you're accountable to those goals if and when you start your partnership. And it should also outline the company's benchmarks to measure success. So that can help you make your decision on whether you should respond. Because you need to vet every RFP to decide whether or not it's worth your time. And sometimes these benchmarks to success might really indicate that they're untethered from reality. And that they're looking for some agency to like bend over backwards to prove their, value, worth, and just, aim really high and hope somebody will reach for that target. But that also really shows that they probably don't have realistic expectations. Maybe they're not going to be satisfied. So there's a lot to consider. But let's talk about when. This is the 6 tips that I have for you. When should you respond to an RFP? Number 1, your response will never give away your entire strategy. So respond to an RFP when you know that you can communicate effectively and answer their questions without giving away a strategy for free. Never give away details of your PR strategy in the proposal, regardless of whether you're responding to an RFP that asks for it or doesn't, just in general. If you're sending a proposal, a capabilities deck to a potential client, or answering an RFP, even if they've asked for it, you do not share your strategy in your proposal. Never. Protecting your IP, that is your intellectual property. You're going to put in a lot of time and a lot of energy. This is really critical to holding on to the value that you're generating. When you give away your strategy, I've said this a million times, you are showing that you're putting a $0 sign on it. You're giving it away for free. The work you're submitting for, it isn't guaranteed. And once that company has your strategy, they can do whatever they want with it. The RFP and the NDA that you signed says, in all likelihood, that whatever you submit is theirs to review, to execute. They don't need you, and now you've just given it. If you can reuse a previous proposal template in your response, go for it. Maybe your capabilities deck gets you 90% of the way there, and there's a couple additions you can make to really answer their question specifically, but they tend to be really time consuming to respond to. So saving time wherever you can, total win. Plus, you are less likely to give away too much information with a plug and play template. Investing the time and energy into developing some kind of a customizable proposal template that you can use for RFP responses and one-off proposals is a really valuable use of your time. And so that's something to think about, is just using what you have to save you time and not over deliver on proprietary intellectual property without an agreement where you're basically putting a $0 value on your ideas. Don't do that. So that's when you should respond to an RFP, is when you can do so without giving away the farm, right? Number 2, if you've been specifically invited to submit a proposal. So if it hits your inbox and it's clear that only a handful of agencies have been contacted, green flag, we like that. It shows that that company is really serious about working with top tier agencies in their niche. They've already narrowed down potential candidates. They have cut out a lot of the fluff, and they're really only going after like 3 agencies. You can ask them, how many agencies, and you can be very clear in communicating that you're capable, you can show you understand their needs, and offer broad references to a solution, or the fact that you've worked on something like this before, and show a case study that shows what results happened for that company when you implemented something similar. That's why we love case studies. And that's why we tease out 2 different capabilities decks for our 2 various niches. So you want a green flag with these companies that have a very narrow list. And you know that you're working with a client that takes PR and your value and your time as a PR pro seriously. They've done their research, and this is probably their final step in making their decision. That bodes well for your future partnership. You do not want to waste your time. So these open RFPs that they just put out everywhere, LinkedIn, or send an email blast, or post it on their social or whatever, they're far too competitive. They're far too vague to be worth your energy. And it's like a cattle call. They just want as many responses that they can get, even if it is a major waste of time for pretty much everybody. A lot of times they do that when they're stuck and they want ideas, right? Yeah. So we do not like them either, but I want to give criteria and not just say never, right? So the third criteria, this is the big one. This is when I would be like, we're throwing our hat in. You really want the business. You love the company. They have a good budget. Their goals and objectives align with what you excel at. So you know that adding this company to your roster would be a positive, or you already have contacts at the company. So we know that it takes up major time and energy. It has to be worth it. So you want to evaluate whether or not the company is worth it. Are they a key player in your niche? Check. Will getting this client help your business grow? Will it be a really solid, compelling case study because people know this company, and it'll add some cachet to what you do? Check. Does taking on this client push you closer to your goals? Set goals and objectives, and really kind of establish your thinking around, like, your big why around your business and your personal life, and help develop your kind of purpose. And that becomes a North Star. And if you have a really solid understanding of your goals, this is when decision making becomes really easy. No's are like clear as day, and yeses are like, hell yeah, let's go for it. So if this is like, wow, this perfectly aligns with the direction we're going in, what we're trying to do, our revenue goals, our interest in making more contacts in this industry, in working in this niche in a bigger way, check, right? That is a yes. It is also a good idea to kind of take a step back, get a good look at your chances of actually landing this. So having a good contact at the company, usually a good sign. Cold RFPs, there's nothing tipping the scales in your favor, right? So do some research on into the company, even if you're familiar with them. Check out their social media pages, their website. Really start to think through, do I want to be part of this? And maybe you even see that you have a former colleague or somebody that is familiar with your work that now happens to be at this company. That's a step in the right direction. You have to set yourself up for success with this partnership, and you're not going to be successful if they don't have their assets in order. So perhaps part of the response or the questions that they open it up for as you're working on the response is going through and seeing if you're looking at their assets, you're looking at their website, their social media is kind of janky, their website is really old and not working great, broken links. They don't need a PR firm at this stage. They need to do some, overhauling of their brand presence, and maybe you're finding out if that is another step in the process that doesn't involve the PR firm, but you want to ask, are you going to be working on these things? Because if not, you don't want to get involved with that. So that will help you also, having someone at the company and really figuring out, like, where are we in this? Like, what are their plans? Because candidly, they're a hot mess, and I love the company, I love the products, but this is going to be hard because they're not appealing at this point. You do not want to respond. It is not a good idea. These are the 3 over there when your services, your expertise are not the right fit. If you receive an RFP that isn't right for you, it's a clear no. It could be a mismatch in terms of services, what they're requesting, your pricing versus their projected budget, or even your niche. Don't try to fit a round peg into a square hole. You deserve to work with clients that are aligned, that let your work, shine because you have, your contacts, your industry expertise, you're working in your zone of genius. Like, you're like, yeah, this is great. If this isn't that, then it's not even worth acknowledging, right? It could be especially difficult to turn down RFPs if you're new to PR. And so this might be a cautionary discussion for people who are new. And also right now, guys, I know it's hard out there. I know a lot of our community is winning work, and that should be seen as a ray of hope, right? But I do know that it's really hard. I will tell you what so many of our community are seeing. They are seeing proposals, not through RFPs, but proposals in general, taking longer to convert or just getting ghosted. That just happened to me. And to me, it's like, thank God that I figured this out at this stage, because, that would be kind of a not great client to work with. We have seen clients with contracts wanting to go on pause, not just me, but our community. They ask for a hiatus, which is kind of like, we don't really do that. Maybe there's a way you kind of work through some things, but let them know that it involves like risk to them and complete stopping of momentum that you've already built. So you kind of wasted money because you're not quite ramped up yet. We have companies that are getting quite a few leads, but then it's like those companies just say, we're not ready, we're looking at 2024. They're kicking the can down the road, right? So just know this is happening to so many people. You are not alone. That is why it is really, really helpful to have a community like ours, so that you don't feel like it's only you, or you're wondering what's happening with everyone else. Reach out to your community. Know that we're here for you. Know that you can share this kind of thing, and you don't look like you're down in the dumps, or that you don't have it figured out, or everybody knows something that you don't know. It is happening across the board at all levels, at all budgets. And so just know that. And we are, through our communities, we are, for our programs, we're offering solutions. If you are struggling, don't look at an RFP as an opportunity, even, if it doesn't meet your criteria, because it's still a waste of time. I know people that are new are like, but it's not the best way to grow your business. And actually, if you're new or trying to break into a niche, it's probably not even worth the time, because they're not going to see that you're the right fit for them. So it's better to niche down, say no to what doesn't fit, and work with clients that align with your values. The number 2 thing is, if the business is just not worth the time and effort, then it's not worth, submitting the RFP. It's not like sending a proposal to a client that you've already met. You've talked about their goals. You've talked about their launches, their runway, and you've had a discovery call. It is not the same as that. Thinking about the fact that other agencies are submitting proposals in their response, and you're going to be competing against other qualified PR pros, and the chance of being selected is more limited than having those one-on-one, where you can start, well, we talk about an agency accelerator, start to serve, be the expert, start to lead them on those calls. This isn't that. This is like a nameless, faceless document. Usually you don't get a chance to get on the phone with them. Very rare. And so before you say yes, you want to check in with yourself. See if the RFP is worth the time, worth the energy you're going to spend on it. And if you're chosen, is this client worth that extra effort? How is the ROI on your time and energy to actually execute this? Maybe there's something about this that would get you to finally take the time to put together your capabilities deck. Maybe this is something that you could use 80-90% again for something else. Then maybe that's the kick in the pants you need to actually get those assets together. But if it's really difficult and time consuming to create this proposal that fulfills all of these RFP requirements, even if you are using a custom template, maybe it's not worth it to you, because you're not the only one throwing their hat in the ring. This is a big one. This is a big red flag when the RFP just doesn't clearly outline key details. If it's missing details, it's unclear, maybe they're hiding, playing close to the vest with the budget, run the other way and don't look back. This is one of those big red flags. Companies will use this process to vet potential PR agencies. So they should take the time to be thorough, write a detailed targeted RFP, and it gives you an idea of whether or not you're making these decisions as the leader of your company. Is this worth your effort? If they didn't make the effort to show how much they value PR and your time, or that they even understand, you can tell in an RFP if they just don't even get it. They're throwing everything in there, and you're like, this is not going to work for you, or this is not possible for one company to do well, or, they're talking about advertising and they don't get that this isn't PR, all these things that they're talking about, a cadence of launching press releases just for the purpose of putting something out there. And you're like, that's not what we do. It's not going to work for you. It shows that they didn't make the effort to really think about potential partnership if they don't vet their needs and they don't clearly outline them to show that they value PR and your time. Then what does it say about your potential partnership? Any potential miscommunication can set you up for these misaligned expectations down the road, especially where budgets are concerned. So beware of that, and really see how well does this company communicate their needs, because probably down the road their expectations won't have been communicated effectively, and they're not gonna be, there's no arrival at a successful campaign if they don't even know what it is they're looking for. And then also you want to watch out for, this is a clear take advantage situation. Watch out for RFPs that will request free tests or free trials. I have never seen this, but members of our community have. Any potential client that may want to do a free test, a pitch the media as part of an RFP, or even just draft one so they can see how you're writing, how you're positioning their brand, that's a huge no. They're missing, they miss info in the RFP, or they want you to do work for free. Hell no. Your time is valuable, and any client you may or may not work with needs to understand that. And that is just a huge sign of disrespect for your time and the value of what expertise you bring to the table. So that's, a big part of what, you have to be aware of. So we've got yeses and nos. I'd say if I were going to summarize the biggest factors, having a contact at the company that's familiar with your work, maybe an old client that's moved over, big positive in your favor, knowing and asking them how many firms are submitting or how many firms have they reached out to, and it's 3 or fewer, that's a plus. Reading the RFP and having it be a very realistic query and criteria that seems like it's truly looking for the right partner with the right experience versus someone that's going to give free strategy. That's also a plus. Loving the company, knowing it's going to add to your portfolio, them having a budget range and asking you to show them how you would optimize the budget. That's like buckets versus strategy. I think that's okay. Some of you may disagree, but I think that's okay. Only under those circumstances would I even think to reply to an RFP. And then I would take a deck that I have and it's 90% of the way there and maybe customize a few slides to better answer their questions or better position it. But no strategy, no free strategy. While securing clients through RFPs, it can help you grow your agency, but it is not the only path. It's about putting your best effort into a one-time document you can leverage over and over again, like a capabilities deck. And if you can use that for an RFP and easily customize it, and it's like no harm, no foul, go for it. But try to weigh these decisions. Let me know in the comments, have you ever, just curious for my own curiosity, have you ever won an RFP with a company that you didn't know anybody working there, or you didn't get asked specifically by a contact at the company? Have you ever won an RFP for retainer agency work? Even if it's a no, put a no. I haven't. And in fact, I got paid by a company to develop an RFP for them. It was a beauty super emporium. They had 4 locations around Los Angeles. They had just rebranded, and we were a beauty PR agency. And he asked me what would go into an RFP, and he paid me to develop the RFP and said, oh, you can throw your hat in the ring for it too if you want. But I could tell it was a fishing expedition, and so I didn't submit because I knew what they were kind of looking. They were basically going to go with a firm and give them all the RFPs to pull strategy from, and that could happen too. And I've seen people submit strategies that they're like, oh my God, they started doing what I recommended, and that never feels great. So, but I got paid to put together an RFP, like the actual response for proposals. And I thought that was kind of cool. Let us know too where you are in your biz dev right now and how we can help you. Don't be shy or feel you have to hide when things are not awesome. You want to get support from our community, new ideas for where to go for new business, or maybe how to retain clients when the PR isn't converting, but maybe there's other value you can provide to them so that they still stay, they stick around and they don't leave. There's so much that our community can do to support you, and you should never. I built my business in a vacuum for 10 years, just isolated, silo, not knowing what anyone was doing, what anyone was charging, how they were getting new business, just kind of figured it out as I went along. And we don't have to do that anymore. We have each other. So just know that you don't have to go it alone. We're here to support you, give ideas. And there also is just something really reassuring. Not that you have misery loves company and other people are having a hard time too. But it's knowing you're not alone, hearing that you are doing the right things. Even when pitching in the media, it's kind of hard. Crickets right now, right? It's really tricky, and it's all about that affiliate game. We're working with commerce editors if you represent brands. It is just so different than it used to be. And we try to tell clients this, and for the most part, they're very understanding, and they're like, we want to try, and we'll set you up for success. But it's still really hard, and we support each other in this community. So share. Don't suffer in silence on your own. We are here. We've even had people that have posted, like, I'm growing, I'm falling out of love. I can't think of the word. What's the word? Like, not disillusioned, but disenchanted, I guess, with my firm. And I'm thinking about going and getting a job, Let's evolve. Let's evolve your business. If you truly have that entrepreneurial spirit, you love working for yourself, you love pitching new business, you love supporting all kinds of brands that you love and believe in, don't throw that away because things are maybe a little challenging. Let's work together to find new ways, new solutions, new offerings, like how to build your business, lead to landed, go back to the basics and start to fill your client pipeline. Let's leverage some case studies. Let's figure out how to do that. And then I have this free agency action plan. Go through it and say, am I doing all of these things? Am I really clear on my strategy, who I serve, how I serve them? Do I have a clear sales process and proposal process? Could I be redesigning my website a little bit, just updates to really draw in my potential prospective clients like a magnet? Do I have a deck that will wow people? They'll look at it and be like, this is what we're looking for. They clearly get it. And if not, get to work on that. Spend a day or two or a week here and there, an hour here and there over a week. Create an asset that you can leverage over and over again. Reach out to your network. Are you doing all the things, And I know that we're all drained. The energy is low. We all feel that. But when you're part of our community, we're here to lift each other up. 5,000 strong. So, and I'm honored to bring all of us together and to be, the person who kind of created this container and the various groups we have to serve your needs. Thank you for being here. Okay, that's all I got for you. I'll see you soon. Take care.